All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the WNR Body Transformation Podcast. And in today's video, I'm going to be covering my experience with injectable glutathione, 45 milligrams of melatonin, and covering my week 4 to week 8 experience whilst being on Retatrutide. But I've got a lot to unpack. But like most people would never inject a nutrient or take 45 milligrams of melatonin while on a diet because they fear the risk. But in this video, I'm actually going to be covering what exactly I experienced, things like better pumps, faster recoveries, even immune system, while staying in a 1500 caloric deficit, which is pretty low for a guy who's as lean and as muscular as me, despite of the fact like I'm not that tall, right? I wish I was a bit taller, but my parents are not tall. But it is what it is. You work with the cards that you've been given. So, yeah, but before I just get started, right, I am just going to put up a disclaimer. I'm not really a doctor. And whatever advice or suggestions or the knowledge that I spit out in this video is mainly for entertainment and educational purposes only, right? If you want to try something out, please go and run it through a physician or a professional or an expert in that particular field who have the right credentials. Take my advice with a grain of salt. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's probably start off basically. So first of all, as you guys might know, for those people who've been active on my social media, or for those people who've been active on my Instagram, my YouTube, I'm currently on a fat loss phase, a bodybuilding diet. And yeah, I think this is the 8th month where I am dropping body fat. When did I start? I started my fat loss phase in Jan, but Jan I was traveling, so I was basically fucking around while I was traveling with a lot of weed, with a lot of junk food, with a lot of unhealthy habits. But I managed to maintain my weight. So realistically, I think so I started in Feb. So February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, well now it's October, so it's basically been like 9 months, sadly. 9 multiplied by 4, 36 weeks. Basically it's like a 36-week prep. So I trained naturally without any GLP-1s from Feb all the way up till August, and from September, from like the late August up until the first week of October, I've been on a GLP-1. But before that, I've also had my shit together. I've been tracking my nutrients via chronometer. It's more like a food tracking app that lets you track your macros, that lets you track your nutrients. I've been training progressively inside the gym. I haven't really changed my training split. I've been sleeping on time. I've been taking the right supplements like fish oil, zinc, magnesium, blah, blah, blah. Like those basics basically, right? You can't really outdo the basics, right? And I was exposing myself to sunlight, walking naked feet on the grass. I was doing daily fasted cardio 3 times per week for 40 minutes, but then I started splitting it across 5 times per week at 25 minutes, which is still 120 minutes. But instead of doing it like after eating my meals, I started doing it fasted. And I run outside in the sun because I really enjoy that. Some days I don't like it, but it is what it is, So, like, all I'm going to say is whatever I suggest in this video, not suggest basically, whatever I tell you in this video, it's been my experience. Everybody's got a different experience. And whatever you want to do, right, please do it at your own risk and understand the ins and the outs and read the research papers. Which I've forgotten to add in the past few videos, but like read the research papers below, run it through your doctor or your physician, and then do whatever the hell you guys want to do at your own risk after speaking to a professional. So yeah, as you can probably see, I ordered ever since I went on Retatrutide, right? I was like, wow, getting it through the gray area peptide websites in Dubai or even internationally, getting it shipped to you is quite expensive because a lot of them get their raw materials from China. So I was like, might as well like take the risk and order it in from China. And I got myself like a batch of glutathione and 10 vials of Retatrutide basically. Yeah, it might be fake, it might not be fake. But the glutathione is actually original because I did get it checked via the barcode on the website. And I was like, wow, that's actually surprisingly good. And this is the vial, as you can probably see, right? It's reconstituted. It's actually quite a clear liquid. It's not cloudy, it's just that I removed it from the fridge. Yeah, there you go, that's a clear liquid, right? It didn't come reconstituted. I reconstituted it with bacteriostatic water as per the standard advice on the internet, like, right, as per my research that I did, from my dubious calculations, which you want to take it with a grain of salt. I like, you know what, I need to finish 1 vial per week, which is like 1500 milligrams of glutathione per week, but split it out across 5 dosages. It's not unheard of people going all the way up to something like 4,800 milligrams per week. But let's probably talk about what is glutathione. Glutathione is one of the most potent antioxidants inside your body, right? Along with melatonin, along with vitamin C, along with NAD+, so it's not really like a steroid, it's just because it's injectable. It also comes in the form of an oral tablet, but that's useless because it gets metabolized by your stomach and the liver, and it doesn't really pass through the blood-brain barrier. So if you take it in the form of an injectable, it straight up goes to the bloodstream and you get like 100% bioavailability. But glutathione in the form of an oral, like its bioavailability is less than 10%, in my opinion, right? I don't know the exact numbers, but it's like super low. Y'all might as well don't take it, right? But it is an antioxidant. Now, what do I mean by an antioxidant? Well, let me explain it with the opposites, right? Let's say you go inside the gym and you train hard. That's oxidative stress that you're putting on your body. Now, what do I mean by oxidative stress? Let's say you take an apple, right? You put it outside and the apple turns brown. The sheer fact that it turns brown, it's decayed, and that's oxidation. That's not good for you, right? When you take stress, when you don't sleep, when you had a high body fat percentage, yes, when you had a high body fat percentage, when you can't see your abs, when you don't have enough muscle, when you're eating junk food, you accumulate a lot of oxidation. So the best solution in this particular case is first reduce your fucking body fat percentage and put on some muscle with good lifestyle habits. You can't out curcumin, right? A poor lifestyle, right? That's what people don't want to hear, okay? But I was doing all of that. I was like, okay, cool. Let me just try out a couple of things. I was anyways taking melatonin 2.5 milligrams and 5 milligrams every day. Let me just one day try it up to 45 milligrams, which I'm going to be covering later in this video. But also let me try glutathione. I split my 1500 milligram dose into 5 weekly administrations. So what do I mean by weekly administrations, right? 5 weekly administrations is like 1500 milligrams. I was taking like 300 milligrams every day, all right? And I was injecting it intramuscularly, which is within the muscle, not subcutaneously, which is like not in the fat. Intramuscularly is within the muscle. You can do both, right? The glutathione is pretty common. People use it in IV drips. In Korea, people use to whiten their skin because for some reason Asians have a weird obsession with like fair skin. Why? I mean, I like a good tan Asian girl basically, right? She's sexy. But that's a topic for another day. Anyways, right? So after taking like 3 administrations, it just kicks in really subtly basically. It just kicks in super like subtly, and you don't even know when you feel it, but when you feel it, it's more of like you don't feel any sort of brain fog. There's no brain fog. The pumps in the gym were like nuts, which was an indication that I was retaining the carbs that I was eating within the muscle cells rather than it being stored inside the fat cells, right? And I felt sick one of those days and I took a bolus dose of glutathione and I recovered in something like 3 hours. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I started digging into the research basically, and I'm like, wow, look at the crazy mechanisms of it, because glutathione works synergistically with vitamin C, right? the more glutathione you produce, the more vitamin C you produce, and the more vitamin C you produce, the more glutathione you produce. It's more of like a cycling balance. So I went and looked at the research papers, and it shows your body produces its own glutathione. It's as simple as that. But if you endogenously supplement it in the form of like an IV administrations, many IV clinics actually do that, or no, exogenously. Please don't quote me on endogenously. Endogenously is like your own body's internal production. Exogenously produce it, administer it either with an IV, which is injected via your vein, or you inject it intramuscularly, or you inject it subcutaneously. Right now, you increase the concentrations of glutathione. Now, this is your cell. Inside your cell, right? You got cells all over your body basically, and this is your cell. Inside your cell, you got the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell. If you've been to basic biology, right, you obviously heard this. So, what do I mean by the powerhouse of the cell? Let's say the proteins, carbohydrates, and fats that you produce needs to be used, metabolized. I don't want to use such big words, but like this is just the state by default. The proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, the foods that you eat, let's hope you're lean enough, will be metabolized, used by the mitochondria of the cell, and will be converted to ATP. ATP is the energy currency of the body, adenosine triphosphate, basically. So basically, the more ATP you have, the more energy you have, as a result of which exercise performance is going to be good, you know. But when people go at a high body fat percentage, when people are like not lean, when they even age, right, their mitochondria tends to degrade, right? But if you get lean, your mitochondria is already going to be functioning properly. If you sleep on time, you sleep as per your circadian rhythm, your mitochondria is going to be functioning properly. If you expose yourself to sunlight, you don't expose yourself to a lot of artificial blue light, you expose yourself to a lot of red light. Like, these are really, really good things for mitochondria. If you eat a whole balanced meal diet, if you're at a low body fat percentage, if you train with weights, these are all good things for your mitochondria basically. Now, what I was looking here for, like, my mitochondria was already functioning properly. I didn't have to do much to get lean. Well, I had to just be consistent. But I was like, what if I speed this process up? All right. So what if I do this? It's not going to make you burn fat, right? It's not like, it's just going to enhance the effects of the stuff that you're already doing by like 5 to 10%, right? This is just an arbitrary number that I'm pulling out of my ass. So please don't quote me on it. But, so I looked into the research, and it shows that glutathione suppresses, muscle fatigue induced by exercise. How does this actually work? Let's probably say when you go out and exercise, right? Your mitochondria basically wants to release more energy so that you can actually fuel your exercise properly. So it needs to function properly. So within the cell is the mitochondria. And if you increase the concentrations of glutathione with like good food, blah, 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 all of that, and even if you exogenously supplement it, now there's more glutathione inside the cell, as a result of which the mitochondria is like, you know what? Let's fucking work, right? And it starts working to its fullest capacity. So the reduced glutathione, like in simple terms, like this is the mitochondria inside the cell. When you increase the concentrations of glutathione, either with supplementation and the healthy practices that I mentioned before, the lifestyle practices which you can't outdo, the concentration of reduced glutathione goes up, right? And now when you exercise, the reduced glutathione gets converted to oxidized glutathione, because when you exercise or whenever you do something stressful, or when you fall sick, etc., right, what's going to happen is you create a lot of oxidation inside your body. You create a lot of ROS, reactive oxidative species. When you don't sleep, when you're like quite fat, when you fall sick, when you exercise, like you're incurring damage in your body that you need to recover from. So you incur a lot of reactive oxidative species. So when that happens, right, the reduced glutathione within your cells gets converted to oxidized glutathione so the reduced glutathione fights the reactive oxidative species, and that gets converted to oxidized glutathione basically. And now when you combine that with vitamin C, right, that also speeds the conversion back of, I might be wrong on this one because I got the information confused, when you supplement with at least 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C every day, right? Glutathione and vitamin C work synergistically together. So the more glutathione you have, the more vitamin C you have. The more vitamin C you have, the more glutathione you have, etc. So it's like a never-ending cascade, right? So I was like, okay. I looked at the mechanisms and I was like, let me just supplement with a high dose of vitamin C. And I did this before my fasted cardio. I was able to run like a madman, right? In the sun. Otherwise, usually after like 10 minutes, I'd go like, let me just rest up for 2 minutes. But I was able to do like 25 minutes at a stretch. So I took like 300 milligrams of injectable glutathione along with my L-carnitine, along with my vitamin C pre-fasted cardio, right? And I was like incurring oxidative stress when I was running. Now the reduced glutathione was fighting the oxidative stress, and the oxidative stress was being taken by the oxidized glutathione. Now, in order for me to convert it back to the reduced glutathione, I at the same time consumed a bolus dose of vitamin C. Now the conversion of oxidized glutathione to reduced glutathione so that the mitochondria can function properly far more better was faster. Your body has its own internal mechanism. Your body is extremely smart. You can't hack your body. But it was faster because I was supplemented with glutathione, and at the same time I was supplementing with vitamin C, right? And at the same time I was walking outside in the sun. So my mitochondria was functioning like a madman, right? And then I looked into it, right? I'm like, okay, this exactly is what's happening. First of all, you're increasing the concentrations of the reduced glutathione inside the cells so that the mitochondria is fully functional, and then at the same time, you got a high dose of vitamin C so that like the conversion of oxidized glutathione to reduced glutathione so that it can be reused is back again. And then at the same time, I'm taking L-carnitine, which shuttles the fat, inside your bloodstream to the mitochondria of the cell faster. So this is a really, really good sign. So yeah. Then second is like glutathione also reduces triglycerides from your fat, right? So triglycerides is just, how do I say this, a scientific term for fat basically, right? You store triglycerides inside your livers, you store it within your organs, you store it within your muscles, you store it in your belly, right? Long story short, it's just fat. The more body fat you have, the higher triglycerides are. Best way to reduce triglycerides: stick to your fucking diet, train with weights, do your steps, do fasted cardio, sleep on time, blah blah blah. Nail all of this. This is the first thing that I probably tell you. Then things like L-carnitine, blah blah blah, is gonna provide you 1% of a benefit. One, like literally one, right? So, like, what glutathione actually does is, like, even your body's glutathione, what it actually does is, let's say when you, like, it reduces the triglycerides within your muscle cells, and so that and puts it inside your bloodstream so that you can actually put it for use. It does that indirectly, and it increases glucose uptake as well. Now, what do I mean by glucose uptake, right? Glucose and glycogen uptake. Your carbs basically gets converted to glucose and glycogen inside the body, and this is stored in various parts of the body: the kidney, the heart, the liver, the muscle cells. If the brain uses it, I mean, so much. But it increases the concentrations of glucose within the muscle cells, as a result of which muscle recovery is higher, and you feel that nice little pump, which tends to diminish a bit while you're on a diet. So it actually helps indirectly in muscle growth. I mean, how fucking awesome is that? Then one day, right, and how does it do this? It activates or increases, please don't quote me on this. What does it do? It basically increases the PGC1 alpha, which is a protein that basically tells, like, hey, it just gives a signal, right? Hey, let's increase the mitochondria. And then another protein actually increases the number of the mitochondria, basically. Like, how fucking awesome is that? So all of these things are really good for you. And then glutathione also reduces inflammation because your vitamin C levels go up. Vitamin C fights colds and infections like no other person. But sadly, during 2020, I'm not gonna say what happened in 2020. I'm gonna keep my ass saved. But sadly, during 2020, instead of like giving people high bolus doses of glutathione, they gave them the politically correct dose by the big pharma companies, which I'm not going to be naming right here. So, yeah, that was my experience. I'm going to be linking the research papers down below, also the screenshots. This time I promise I'm going to be linking the research papers below, because please bear with me, I'm still starting off my YouTube journey. Then there was also this bodybuilder in the 90s, extremely intelligent, and the early 2000s. His name was Dante Trudel, right? He doesn't like to come on YouTube, etc. He likes to stay low-key. But Dante Trudel, he spoke about like, first of all, melatonin is not an FDA-approved drug. No, it's not even a drug, basically. It's an antioxidant, right? Which is produced by your pineal gland, right? And it just signals your body like, hey, it's nighttime, and that makes you fall asleep. It doesn't even make you fall asleep. It just signals to your body, and a series of cascades happen and you fall asleep. So as per the medical literature, there's no upper limit to the amount of melatonin that you can consume, right? But what people do is, I don't want to get addicted to the compound. Taking sleeping pills is far more unhealthy than melatonin. In fact, there are tons of benefits for melatonin. Melatonin is the most potent antioxidant that's ever produced. Melatonin also reduces the growth proliferation of cancer cells. If you got that cancer gene and you supplement with melatonin and a boatload of antioxidants, like, it's fucking awesome, right? So, like, research actually shows, like, when it's pretty obvious, when you exercise, when you train hard, you incur a lot of oxidative stress. And if you give it like things like glutathione, vitamin C, melatonin acts as an anti-inflammatory, helps in mitochondrial function, as a result of which this leads to better muscle growth, better fat loss, and better glycogen uptake. It works through a different pathway unlike glutathione, but leads to similar adaptations, right? Many sportsmen, they supplement with melatonin, basically, right? Then, I mean, a lot of the research was done in rats, but it's also done in human beings as well. What else? Yeah. So when I took, like, the standard recommended dose for melatonin is anywhere between 1 to 3 milligrams. But to a lot of cancer patients and HIV patients, they pushed it up all the way up until something like 200 milligrams. So I'm like, whoa. Dante Trudel said, let's put, like, bodybuilders are supposed to be taking something like 60 milligrams. Like, let me try taking it up to 45 milligrams. So I took like 4.5 pills, right? And one like big bolus dose. And I felt like so giddy while I was reading my biology textbook before I was sleeping. Yeah, I like to read biology basically before I sleep. And I slept. But the next morning I woke up with like a massive, not a headache, but I was like really drowsy. Of course, because like the body has never seen so much melatonin, right? And what exactly happened, what ended up happening was I just cured that problem with some more, like, an extra 2 cups of coffee. Big fucking deal. And I went to the gym. I had the best pump of my life, because right now there was like more glycogen inside my muscle, more carbohydrates inside my muscle. As a result of which, I mean, like, my muscles were already fueled. So when I trained, I mean, it was like awesome. I felt amazing that day. But you just solve the problem with a little bit of coffee. That's it. So yeah, take what you want and feel free to try it on yourself, basically. Now, if you guys must have seen 3 to 4 weeks ago, I was on Retatrutide at 0.75 milligrams to 1 milligram per week, split into 5 to 6 administrations. Now, I bumped it up to 1.5 to 1.8 milligrams. Basically, you can't even see so much because it's a small insulin syringe. What do I feel? I've adapted to the drug actually pretty well. There's a little, like, teeny tiny bit of food noise, but this is what I experienced the other day, right? I used to smoke 1 cigarette per week, and I used to smoke like 1 cigarette per week throughout all this time, all the way up until when? August first week. Moment I started like Retatrutide, all the addictive behaviors went away. Then, I mean, it's been like months since I'm off porn, right? But the cravings for porn actually just went away. The cravings for alcohol, I haven't had a single drink, right? Previously, I would have like one glass of wine every like 14 days. None. I just don't, I just feel like working, right? Because you got like GLP-1 receptors in your brain. So retatrutide is GLP plus GIP plus glucagon, right? And I feel full. Like not full because I'm taking less than the recommended doses that they've performed in the subjects. On the subjects, the dose actually starts from 2 milligrams and goes all the way up to 12 milligrams, which is fucking nuts, right? But I'm taking like 1.5 milligrams, and it sometimes I feel a little hungry, which is obviously there, which is obviously going to be there because I'm in a caloric deficit. I'm actually quite lean, but yeah, like the food noise is not there. The side effects associated with things like Ozempic, Mounjaro, etc. is not there, and my digestion is functioning properly, right? I'm able to train hard, and the fat loss has been like nuts because you have this glucagon agonist which like increases blood glycogen, and now your liver glycogen is depleted, so now you get no other option than to use fat for fuel. Now when you combine that with training, resistance training, high protein intake, you doing your steps, doing daily fasted cardio, sleeping on time, etc., being consistent, boy, like this is like a game changer. So I'm like contemplating, while I was being in a dilemma, like should I run this year round in like a bare minimum microdose, like 0.25 milligrams per week, when I do finally end my prep, which is probably going to happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks because my coach has given me like a bit of a green sign. I'm already getting lean, just another 2 to 3 weeks. Or should I like come off it in a tapered off manner? I don't know. But yeah, this has been my take, like no side effects. And like looking back, and I look at myself and I go like, wow, I used to perform all of these toxic habits. I'm actually a fairly productive guy, right? I still do the same old things that I wasn't doing even when I was doing even when I was not on Retatrutide. I would still put out a YouTube video once per week. I would still produce my content. I would still post 6 times per week. I would still have like check-in calls with my clients. I'd still produce social media content. I'd still have sales calls. I would do all of that. But right now, like I just want to do that. It's as simple as that. I don't want to perform any sort of like negative habits, right? And now when I do taper off the drug, I don't think so I'm going to go back to the old way of doing things because I feel amazing this way. Literally, I feel amazing this way. I'm learning at a rate like that I've never learned before. All the addictive behaviors are gone. So when the sad part in the medical literature is they just completely discontinued people on the drug instead of tapering it off. Yeah, the right way to do it is you taper it off by like however you want to taper it off on a week-to-week basis, whilst you increase your weight, your calories on a week-to-week basis, so that you can maintain your body, but also maintain the habits basically. So yeah, but Retatrutide is something that I'm going to be using, and newsflash, you know, I am going to be soon going on TRT, and when it's probably going to be in like the next 1.5 to 2 months, because I'm ending my diet and I don't want to straight up jump on it. I want to like increase my calories first, come to theoretical maintenance, and let my hormones restore itself back to normal, let the libido, let the blood markers, etc. come back to normal. So I'm going to be documenting my experience. I'm going to be getting a complete blood panel test done. I'm going to be getting my sperm analysis done because I want to ensure that I'm fertile. And if when I do hop on TRT, there's a high chance that the fertility might temporarily shut down. So I want to see how fertile I am so that I've got a bit of a reference point beforehand. And if I'm fertile, I'll just freeze like 8 to 10 samples of my sperm so that when I get a chance to impregnate a really hot girl, she needs to be ready and I need to be ready, right? And yeah, I need to get my echocardiogram done just to check if there are any anomalies in my heart, and that basically is it. right? Then I hop on TRT, and I'm going to be documenting my experience. So yeah, and also the other day I tried, like, not the other day, in fact today I tried like 1 milligram of nicotine gum, and the focus was like next level basically. Because what happened yesterday, I was with a friend and he was vaping, so I was like, not because I wanted to vape, right? Like, hey, can I have a puff just to see like how I respond to me vaping after like 8 weeks of being on Retatrutide? Because Retatrutide does show you to have like non-nicotine addictive behaviors, and I felt pukish after just like 2 puffs. So I'm like, so I'm like, okay, but let me just test my response to nicotine, because a lot of bodybuilders, right, they tend to use nicotine as a nootropic, like for focus, cognition, before tasks, not because they're addicted to it, etc. So let me just try it out. I tried it for like 2 hours straight. I'm like, whoa. So I'm going to be making a deep dive about it, like when you're supposed to use it, how you're supposed to use it, etc. And please take it with a grain of salt, because I'm not a physician, but in the biohacking and bodybuilding community, many of them use it in less than the recommended dose, basically, right? Yeah, people, if you found this useful, feel free to follow me for more tips. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, drop a comment below for the algorithm. And if you want to transform your body with like successful habits and be educated on how your body works in and out, then feel free to fill in the link in the bio below. And if you want to check out my Instagram for my work of results and some more short form content, which is straight to the point, feel free to check it out. Have a nice one.